Okay, welcome everyone, and Baruch Shechianu v'Kiyamanu v'Giyanu L'Zman Hazeh, as we almost, till the last very word, finish Masechtas Avoda Zara tonight. Wow, what an accomplishment. These are accomplishments of a lifetime. And we are sponsored. This wonderful Masechta has been sponsored by A.B. Spry with for the Refuah Shalema of Tiberaiza Bas Hinda. It's sponsored for a great Zivik for their daughter and grandchildren. It's been sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lili Nishmas Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Yaina, Avram Ben Shmuel Akayin, and Refuah Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. It's been sponsored for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for Yeshua Menachem Mendel Ben Bela Shendel Rivka. It's been sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Nishmas Yaakov Zeben Yudaya, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Sivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef Ben Siyam Ben Yaakov Zeben for a great Shidduch for Chayit, Sivya Bas Shoshana Gittel. It's been sponsored by Eddie Chazan with the tefillah that all Yidden world over should be safe, and the IDF should have a nitzachon and be safe as well. It's been sponsored by Menachem Umansky with the tefillah that all those that are awaiting their zivik should find their zivik quickly and easily. Tonight is Yotzeit for Rabbi Avraham Ben Yosef Gross. His neshama should have an aliyah. He should be a meltz yosher for his family, for all of us, and all of Klal Yisrael. And as it is that itchy? Wow, itchy! I have to make a bracha of Mechayim Mesim on you. Wow, itchy! It's wonderful to see you. Please don't be a stranger. It's really wonderful to see you, Itchy. You probably forgot the address. Shoshana Basadina should have a Refuah Shalema B'Sech Shecha Yisrael. Okay, so we are holding, and I might add that it's very nice to see everybody. It was really eerie to teach last night without being able to see all of you, but it's good to see you now. 40 Zoomers, wow. Okay, so we are holding by the Idach 3 lines from the top of Ayin Vav Amud Aleph. So the Idach, the opinion that holds that, hold on, let's bring in over here more people here. The Idach and the opinion that Noisin Tam Lifgam is also usher, even if it gives off a bad flavor. But we said that maybe the Kalim of Midian is only a Kedera Bas Yuma, that's Noisin Tam Lishvach. So the Man Yama that holds Noisin Tam Lifgam is usher. He holds that Kedera Bas Yuma Nami Mifgam Pogma, even if it's a one-day-old keli. But we're talking about the absorption inside the keli coming out. Once it's absorbed inside the walls of the keli and now coming out into a dish prepared differently, it also is a nice in tam lifgam. It also gives a slightly unpleasant flavor. And since we see that you need to kasher it, so he derives from that anything that's nice in tam lifgam also needs to be kasher. So now, and for those that are just walking in now, sauntering in, we are holding by Ramelei Rav Amram Rav Sheshes, 4 lines from the top of Ayin Vav Amid Al, Mamish coming down the home stretch of Avoda Zara. And I want to mention that since it is Elul, we should really use the opportunity to learn Torah Lishma. Remember that in Pirkei Avos Rav Meir says, Kol aloymid Torah Lishma, Zoicha L'dvarim Harba. Whoever learns Torah Lishma, so we learn that Lishma means for its sake to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Dibar Tabam and La'asais Nachas Ruach Liyitzreinu. So Ramalei Rav Amram Rav Sheshes, and this is interesting because those that are learning with us the Mishnah Yomis, this is a stira from our Mishnah to a Mishnah that we just learned recently in Zvachim in the Mishnah Yomis. Ramalei Rav Amram Rav Sheshes Tanan, we learned over here. Hashpudin va'askala, spits and a grill that's used by a guy with fire. Malabman ba'ar, you have to kasher it by burning it out with fire, right, using a blowtorch. But vatani gabikachim, we learned vatanan is probably the correct answer because it's a Mishnah, Tanya is a Brisa. Vatanan gabikachim, we learned in Masechtas Zvachim, hashpud va'askala, spit and a grill used for, let's say, a chatas. Magilon bechamen, it's enough to boil it with hot water. So you see, you don't need to burn it with the fire. Amalei, so he said, Amram Bri, Amram my son, Ma inyan kochim eitzel gi'ulei avdei kacham. Here he makes a very, very simple differentiation. What's the difference between kochim? I mean, what are you comparing kochim to gi'ulei avdei kacham? When the chatas was cooked in the pot, it was heter. When the guy cooked in the pot, he was cooking pork. It's iser. Hacha hetera bala. When the chatas was cooked in the pot, it was an absorption of heter. The only problem is the next day it's going to be forbidden as nicer. Hasam isura bala. But in the case of the guy, he cooked in it octopus. He cooked in it pork. And that's why it needs to be burnt out. Amar Rava says, what's the difference if initially it was heter? On the next day, when you want to use the pot, that chatas, since it was left overnight, it became nicer and it's iser karis. That's also iser. Saif ki kapalat, when the chatas absorption comes out of the wall of the pot the next day, isur kapalat. It's nicer and it's an iser karis. Ela Amar Rava tries another answer. Ela Amar Rava, and just to reminisce with you, this morning, I was up in the Catskills this morning, and, on a Tuesday after Labor Day, I had to go to a all-year-round minyan. So I davened in Vishnitz this morning. So, I carry my Art Scroll tablet, and, I usually take it out in order to learn, but they have an absolute ban on any technology in the building. And as soon as I opened up the tablet, somebody gently tapped me on the shoulder and told me, that's not allowed over here. So I ended up using a regular Gemara, which is also very useful. It's useful to have a Gemara. Anyway, Ela Amar Rava my Hagola Nami. When it says Hagola, it means that besides doing libun, burning it out, there's also an extra requirement of shtifa or marika, purging it on the inside and on the outside. Amalei Abaya says, what are you talking about? The din of shtifa marika that's going to be by kachim, mi dami marika shtifa b'tzainin. There it's enough just to rinse it inside and outside with cold water. Hagola, when it says Hagola, it means bechamin. Ela Amar Abaya wants to maintain that by a grill and a spit. You need both Hagala and burning it out. Alamar Abaye Yagid Olav Reyai. Its friend tells one on the other, meaning that in Kachin it says Hagala. Over here by Goyim it says Liban, and you need both. Tanahacha Liban, it says over here Liban V'hu Adin LaHagala, and we learn out from Kachin that you need to purge it also. Tanahasam Hagala, and we learn out from Goyim that you also need Liban. V'hu Adin LaLiban. Says the Gemara, nah, that's not the way Yagid Olav Reya works. If one is teaching us about the other, then ihachi lisninu lekulu b'chada. Let it say both by one of them, Hagala and Liban, and beidach and chada beidach achrite, and one by the other one, v'lema Yagid Olav Reya. But it should say the complete one by one of them. Ella Amar Rava says, no, you're right. Normally, when you use it with fire, you got to burn it out, and that's why we learn over here by the kalim of goyim. If it's a grill, if it's a spit, a rotisserie, you need to have fire. Kochim ainu tamayu, but by kochim the reason is k'der Rav Nachman Amar Rabba bar Avua. It's like Rav Nachman the name Rabba Avua because every day you're using the pot, and every day before you it becomes aser, you cook with it again, and therefore that's why cooking is enough. K'der Rav Nachman Amar Rabba Avua. The Amar Kol Yom v'Yom Nasa Gil l'Chaveroi. Every day when you use the pot for the next day's kachim, it boils it out. So the Gemara says, Kainach Shlomim. That works with a peace offering. See, a peace offering is permitted for 2 days and the intervening night. So when you cook in it the second day, it's still heter. And you're getting rid of the absorption while it's still heter. Teinach shlamim, the kaven l'shnei yamim misachle, since it's eaten for 2 days and 1 night, mikami dahavi noiser, before it, the absorption of Monday's shlamim becomes nicer, kahavi gil, you cook it out on Tuesday. Tuesday it's still permitted. Elachatis, but let's say you cook a chatis on Monday. That chatas is permitted Monday and Monday night. By Tuesday, it already becomes isser. It doesn't help to boil it out. El chatas came in the l'yom v'layla misachla, since it's only eaten for a day and a night. Afterwards, it becomes nicer. Ki mavashel ba in the chatas, when you cook on Monday a chatas, have a nicer. By Tuesday, it becomes nicer. Ki hadem mavashel ba l'macher. When you cook in it the next day, oy shlamim, oy chatas, oy shlamim, oy chatas, kapolet noiser the chatas da idna, the noiser of chatas of Monday is excreted b'chatas v'shlamim d'lamacher into the chatas of the shlamim the next day, excreting an iser noiser, an iser karas, and therefore it doesn't help to boil it up because you're not boiling it up on Tuesday when it's heter. Says the Gemara, you're right. Gemara says, when they cook Sholom's chatas on Monday, yet on that Monday, they also cook in it a shlamim. After they cook the chatas in it, they cook a shlamim, thereby getting rid of already the bliya of the chatas. When they cook the sin offering on Monday, they cook afterwards a shlamim in it. Why? The chatas de lamacher, because Tuesday's chatas or shlamim de esmol and Monday's shlamim hadadi koshalom zimnayu, both finish their time on Tuesday. So therefore, when they cooked Shalom's Chattis on Monday, then afterwards they cooked the Shlomim in it on Monday. Oh, the Shlom got rid of the Bli of the Chattis before it became nicer. Then on Tuesday, V'hadim Avasha Shlomim Delamacher, then they cook on Tuesday another Shlomim, which will take out the Blia of Monday Shlomim. Says the Gemara, but if that's the case, so why do you need even Hagala? If that's the case, that so interesting that last night we had 40 and now so far we only have 31. Maybe it was because it was a holiday. I don't know.
Because you were blacked out. Rabbi Weiss, if the shlomim is cooked, what about on Wednesday? Won't it be nicer from the shlomim?
No, because the shlomim is good for 2 days and 1 night.
So the day after that?
No, because every day they're cooking in it shlomim. So the shlomim of Tuesday gets rid of the bli of Monday. The shlomim of Wednesday gets rid of the bli of Tuesday.
But on Shabbos it won't get rid of the blia.
On Shabbos they don't bring a shlom.
I know, but from Thursday shlomim, on Friday shlomim, if they bring, so once it's to be on Shabbos, they can't cook, they won't be, Sunday you can't use the pot.
Correct. So then on Sunday you would have to burn it out.
You would have to burn it.
Then Sunday you would have to burn it out.
There's another problem, though. There's a problem with if there's a chattis and then you cook the shlomim, so then there's blias of the chattis in the shlomim, and the Zara is allowed to eat the shlomim, but he can't eat a chattis.
No. Here we're talking about cooking the chaz of a shoik. That's permitted to a kohen.
What about the balabatim who eat shlomim? You mean it's the balabatim?
No, when we want it, Rashi says beferish over here that you would cook only chaz of a shoik.
So then the shlomim that regular people eat are cooked differently.
Cooked differently. They wouldn't use it. Now, you could ask me a different question, which is an interesting question. And that is, if it has the blia of chattis, then they shouldn't be able to eat the shlomim the next day. Because then it would be nicer because of the blia of the chattis. Shlomim could be eaten the next day. And there would be another question, and that is the chaz of Ishai could be eaten even by female kohanim. The chattis could only be eaten by zichrei kohuna because it's kachay kachim. But the Gemara asks another question. And the Gemara says, and that's why maybe the Gemara could have asked these questions. But the Gemara asks another knockout question. Because if we're relying on the fact that it's cooked every day and it gets out the blia, so then why does it say that in Masechta Zvachim that the askala and the shpud need hagala? It shouldn't need anything. So the Gemara says, yeah, that's a kasha. That's shver on this pshat. So the Gemara gives us another answer. Rav Papa says, because let's remember our original question. Our original question is, why by the goyim do you have to burn it out, and why by kachim is enough for agala? So Rav Papa says simple. Rav Papa Amar Hai Korid. The guy's blia, since they don't cook in the pot all the time, the blia hardened. And therefore it's harder to get out. And therefore you need to burn it out. Why high loikarit? While by kachim, since they're using it constantly, it's not hard, and therefore you can get it out with hagala. Rav Ashi Amar, Rav Ashi says, no. It's what we said initially. Remember we said that when by kachim, when it was absorbed in the pot, it was absorbed as heter, because it was absorbed as shalom schatas. That's heter. It's only later on that it becomes nicer when it's already inside the pot. But the guy, when it was absorbed, it was octopus, it was pork, it was lobster. So he said, but what's the difference? Right now, when it comes out of when it exudes from the pot into the food, it's usher, and by chatas it's even more usher because it's nicer. It's an isakaris. Pork, lobster is only a lav. Says the Gemara, no. The Gemara says, Rav Ashi Amar Ilam Kida Amran Meikara, like we answered originally. Hacha het teira bala. Over here by chatas, the reason why hagala is enough is it because it absorbs heter. While hacha isura bala, but over here by the pork, the lobster, the octopus, it absorbed iser. You the kakashalach, but you had a shverkite to be in the kapalik. When the chatas comes out the next day, it's nicer and it's an iser karis, isura kapalat. Yeah, but when it comes out of the pot, there it's not be'en anymore. It's only flavor. It's not be'en. Says the Gemara, the kakashalach, the be'inna the kapalat, isura kapalat. Be'inna the kapalat, when it comes out from the walls of the pot, lo isay li isura be'ene. The isur is not in its tangible state, it's only a flavor, and therefore we're more makel when it originally was absorbed beheter than when it was originally absorbed as an iser. Vad kama malabnan, till what point do we have to burn it? Amramani achitosher klipasan, until its layer comes off. Now the ketzad magilan, how do we boil it? We put a small pot inside a big pot and boil it out. What if it's a big pot? Obviously, it's such a big pot that you can't put it into another bigger pot. What if it's a huge commercial cooking pot? So says Gemara Tashma, there was a vat, a cauldron that was in the yeshiva of Rav Akavya. A haderle gatfa, they took a piece of dough, gatfa delisha, they took a piece of dough and they put it around the rim of the pot. In other words, a piece of dough stuck, so that when they filled it up with water, the boiling water went above the rim, and it was held in place by that dough that stuck from the outside of the rim. What a malyua maya! They filled it up with water, v'arsicha. So now really, the water that they boil will not completely go over the rim. But when you boil it, it will bubble and it will splash over the rim. So Amarava mancha kim lemevid kihol milsa, who is smart to have such advice, ilav Rabbi Kavya de Gavarabu, if not Rabbi Kavya, who's a great man. Kasavar kiboiloi kach boltai. Just like it absorbed Isser, so can you use the same methodology to purge the Isser. Ma boiloi benitzaitis, when they filled up the pot with pork soup, it didn't go over the rim, but the problem is that they needed that when it splashes, the pork soup splashes, So now we need to have that when you kasher it and it splashes, it stays in. And the splashing will stay in because of the dough that's put around. Ma boilei b'nitzaitzis is what's splashed up. Af poltei, so also purging it, it's enough b'nitzaitzis. Now, we said that what happens with a knife, hasakin shofa v'hitayra. We said the knife, you scrape it with a grindstone, and that's enough. And you stick it 10 times in the ground. That's ground that wasn't worked upon. It was hard ground. Rav Kahana tells us it's talking about that this works ubesaken yofa, a smooth knife she'ein ba gumais, that doesn't have any dents in it. Tanya nami hachi, sakin yofa she'ein ba gumais, if it doesn't have any dents in it, noyatz asara pa'amim bekaka, you could stick it 10 times in the ground. Amrav Wunderbrei Rabbi Yeshua, this is lechel batzainen, in order to use it with cold. Ki hadamar Yehuda ubati barbute. This is an interesting story. The master Yehuda, that's already Rav Yehuda, and Bati bar Tuve have a Yosve Kamei Shavar Malka. They were sitting before the Persian king Shavar Malka. He was a guy, but we'll see he was a guy that kept the laws. So Aisel the Kamayu Esroiga, they brought before Shavar Malka esrig, a citron. Pasak Ochel, he cut himself a slice and ate it. Pasak, he cut a slice, v'hovlei lebati bartuvi, and he handed it to Bati bartuvi. Then Hodar Dotz Asara Zimnei Ba'ara, he then stuck the knife 10 times in the ground, and Pasak Kovlei Mar Yehuda, and then cut a slice and gave it to Mar Yehuda. So Bati Bartuvi was, insulted. What, to give it to Mar Yehuda, you kasher it? But to give it to me beforehand, you don't kasher it? Amalei Bati Bartuvi, Vau Gavra Labar Yisraelu, am I chopped liver? Am I chopped liver? What are you doing? For Mar Yehuda, you first kasher it and cut a slice, and for me, you just give it to me directly? So Amalei, so he said to him, Bati Bartuvi, you know I keep laws, and therefore you don't worry about it. You know there's no need for me to kasher it. Mar Kimli Begave, but Mar Yehuda doesn't know me, like Kimle Begave, and therefore I kashered it. Now, I'm going to tell you the end of the Masechta outside. I'm not going to say the words because I'm going to keep that for the Siyum. Mark is ready, his mouth is watering, but I'm going to keep it for the Siyum. But before I do, I want to be a gracious host, even though 7 people stiffed me tonight. Welcome in Saba and Yaakov Warman, Irving Fishman, Menachem Umansky, Mel Zachter, Dr. Block, Shimon Klein, Mark Frankel, and Itchy. Great to have Itchy, Menachem Umansky, Michal, Dr. Guy, Ruvain Pollack, Shalom Fogel, Chaim Lerner, Ruvain Shannon, Barry Cement, Marshall Castle, Shelley Zeitlin, Rabbi Kranz, Rebellia Yaffe. How great it is to have Rebellia Yaffe back in the shir. Yitzi Fuchs, Yitzi Muller, and the one and only Mo Kushner, Eddie Chazan, Nachman Chapler, Naftali Jablin, Michal Avram Chavin. I will be back in shul tomorrow night, Rabbi Isai, for the Chumash shir as well. Avigdor Fried, Avram Rezepkowitz, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Rebellia Shutman. The Gemara now says a second teretz, and that is, and the Gemara now says a second teretz. The Gemara says a second teretz, which is, it's very delicate. It was a Persian custom that when they had guests, they sent up to their room a escort for the night, a female companion for the night. So Mar Shmuel said to Bati Bar Tuvi, listen, remember what happened last night? Bati Bar Tuvi accepted the escort. Mar Yehuda didn't accept the escort. So since Bati Bar Tuvi accepted the escort, he wasn't careful to kasher it for him. Mar Yehuda, who didn't accept the escort, he kashered it for him. Now there's an interesting Tosfos over here. Tosfos says that actually Bati Bar Tuvi did not do a sin, because Bati Bar Tuvi actually had a halacha of an Eved Kanani, because it says Bati Bar Tuvi barama isrucha lo kibel get shichra. He didn't accept the get shichra, and since he didn't accept the get shichra, he was technically still an Eved, and that's why he was able to accept the shifka as the escort for the evening, while of course Mar Yehuda, who was a regular Yid, would not accept the woman for the evening, especially not a shifka, which is forbidden to a Jew.
Stay in the ground tonight.
What? No, very quickly. In, out, in, out, in, out. If I had you here, I would demonstrate. Okay, now Rabbi said, I want to remind you that tomorrow night we start Huryas, 13 Blot. It's a great night to bring a friend. Really, you know, what a thing before Rosh Hashanah to finish a Masechta from cover to cover. I mean, that's really remarkable. I also want to remind that we have 3 sponsors for Huryas, and that's Dr. Black, Mark Frankel, and Yisrael Fisher. And I ask all of you to please text me who the dedication is for. Dr. Black, I think you did already. But Yisrael Fisher and Mark Frankel, please make sure to do it so I could announce it. We will be looking for sponsors in Mir Tzeshem. We already got one sponsor for Menachos, and that's Shalom Fogel. For Zvachim. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're looking for more sponsors for Zvachim. I believe Mark Frankel says he would co-sponsor if he finds a partner. Mark, am I right about that? Yes. So we're looking for a co-sponsor to join Mark for Masechta Zvachim, and we're asking when the Siyum is. I'm not sure yet. We're going to see. And now we're going to do the Mishnah Yonis.